Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Bon Anthology number 4. Bon is a Swedish comic art collective that I believe is still running, and they started in like the 2000s. This anthology began sometime around mid-2000s. This issue, for example, is from 2007, and it's just number 4. So I think roughly around 2006 they started. And I don't know where I picked this up. In fact, I was looking at my comic shelves a little while back, and I was like, what the hell is this? I totally didn't remember it at all. I think I picked it up because there's some David Mack in there, the Kabuki guy, and I really like David Mack's stuff. But there's some other really good stuff in here. And usually I like to, review things that I have a complete run of. Of course, that's not always possible. And in fact, in this case, I don't know if I'll ever have another issue of this. Mainly because this comic in 2007, this magazine, cost $17.95. So I'm sure I didn't pay that. Knowing me, I know how cheap I am. So I must have found this in a sale box somewhere. Maybe I'll find some other ones one day, because I wouldn't mind getting more of these. It's a very handsome magazine, very beautifully published. It's got a square bound spine. It's a very nice paper, good printing. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. I'm curious. It just seems like this is a really beautiful magazine with some big names in it, and nobody really talks about it. So we start off with a cover by Junko Mizuno, the Japanese artist. And kind of interesting, kind of fun. I'm not really familiar with this person's work. We have a little editorial here. This is art by Suzanne Johansson here. And we have the contents page. I like this design. They show you little slivers of the art. And we start off with a comic named Paradox Twins. And this is by Matthias Elftorp. He's one of the editors of the magazine and one of the, I believe, founders of this group. Interesting art. He's from Sweden. That's basically where Bon is based. But the anthology, really prides itself on being an international anthology. And we do see many countries represented in here. So this guy is telling us a story about how he came home. Came home yesterday like usual. He opened the door to his apartment. And there was a duplicate of himself. And they have sex. It's basically a duplicate lover. And then the door rings, post-coitus. And there's like, 6 or 7 duplicates now. So, of course, what are you going to do? Have a big orgy with yourself. So they're all lounging in bed afterwards. They're all like repeating their thoughts in these captions. I know you can hear my mind. I know you can hear my mind. So I'll tell you a story. So I'll tell you a story. And then I guess one of them, maybe the main guy from the beginning, he opens the door and walks out into the night. So not much of a story. I don't know. This next story is by Amanda Vahamaki. And this is called The Lie Detector. La Macchina della Verità. And I think this person is from Finland. And kind of interesting art. I like this idiosyncratic style. And we just see these this office. We see like the secretary and the boss. They go home for the weekend, leaving behind the two graphic artists. I think they're comic artists or maybe storyboard artists. You can't really tell. And I guess they have to, they're the grunts. So they got to stay all weekend and finish up. And we see these two guys. I believe they're cousins. There's a mention of that. I don't know if that was just some kind of term they use in Finland. But as we can see, this one's kind of weird. He doesn't look very, he looks kind of sickly. Yeah, look at him here. He's really not looking good. And so after a while, the guy with the glasses says, let's go to the bar. Let's take a break. The one problem I have with this comic is, I know it's dumb, but I don't know, I just found that this whole storytelling device of just the same exact page, these 9 panels all connected, it started to be, I don't know, it just made it not as exciting as it could be. So they go to the bar. The bespectacled guy kind of is flirting with the barkeep. Not really, much really happens in the story. Sorry, I'm not saying much. I do like this artist, though. This is pretty good art. And it looks like the sickly friend or cousin is getting more and more sick. He looks terrible. I mean, of course, he's drinking and smoking. So on the way back to the office, he pukes. And they meet this weird old homeless guy. And he says that he has a hangover pill. And I'll tell them the secret of it. He'll tell them the secret of it if they give him a cigarette. Of course, they just keep walking on. This looks like some crazy old dude. Back at the office, we see them working on these either comic strips or storyboards. And then the bespectacled guy spills a bottle of ink all over his work, and the sickly one laughs. That's it. So yeah, definitely not that great, but interesting art, and I'd like to see more of that cartoonist. So now we have David Mack from America, of course, the kabuki guy. This is called Self-Portrait, and this is pretty good auto-bio, where he's just talking about basically being creative at a young age, where his mom taught, she was a single mom, she taught David and his brother, just, taught them how to draw, really helped them out with their creativity. She was a school teacher, so she had all the materials. She had colored paper and glue all the time, and they didn't even have a TV. They were so poor. So David and his brother would draw pictures and tape them to the screen of the TV and just stare at that. David Mack's kind of patented style where, he draws things and then he puts the words within the art. Is David Mack really that good looking? He looks like an Adonis. So this is the mom. And of course, David Mack trying every page is a different style. Talks about he used to love getting like cardboard boxes. He would cut them up and make all these sculptures out of cardboard using old milk containers, plastic disposable cups. He'd make robots, cars, and planes. And then he got a hammer and a nail, and then he went crazy. Then he started making all kinds of things. See, totally different style here than the previous page. And now a different style. Even though it's kind of going back and forth, either super realistic. And then here's like a childlike drawing. Talking about they love to make costumes for themselves. Dressing up as Zorro or... this idea, he made a sheriff, like a cowboy outfit for himself. And he used to just walk around his house with the boots, the holster with the guns, and his hat. And completely buck naked under. But one of their favorite things was the mom would tell them to lay down in the ground and then make an outline of each, their brothers' bodies. And then she said you can fill it up with whatever you want. Once you have the outline. So they would just draw random things. There's a peanut butter sandwich in his gut. And after a while, they would start turning themselves into whatever they wanted to be. An Indian, Spider-Man, an astronaut. And this was really fun for them. It was almost magic. It was almost transformative. And then he kind of makes a moral out of all of it. He says, the outline is the situation that you were born into. But you can design it any way you want. You can fill it up with whatever you want. Pretty good stuff. Just good writing. I mean, I'm just giving you the kind of summary. But it's good autobio. It's well told. Now, this next person is another person I've never heard of. Chu Kwang Man and Claire Bishop. I'm not sure of the breakdown of duties in this. But Chu Kwang Man is from China. And I looked this up earlier. Let me see real quick. It doesn't tell us who this other person is or where they're from. So Claire Bishop, I don't know what she does on this or who she is. But I kind of like this art. So this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. It doesn't really make sense. It's just kind of an art comic. And we see this little devil riding a horned horse, a devil horse, on his way to heaven. But he meets some bad angels and an ugly god. I don't know if this is a giant poop with a face. So that's kind of an art comic. This is one of my favorites in the issue. It's called Bygone. It's by Rutu Modan, who's part of the Actus Tragicus, the Israeli comic collective. Really good story. This is just really kind of like a literary story. This is good stuff. We start off with the narrator. I don't look anything like Mother. Thelma says that none of us do. And we see this picture where there's a giant hole where the mother's face would be. So, this woman, this young girl, well, she's a young woman. I think she's like 15 or something. Her name's Sarah. And she has a little sister, Minnie, who's 3 years younger, is like a big baby. She's always complaining about like having a stomach ache. And Sarah says, hold on a second, I'll call Thelma. So we find out that Thelma's the older sister, and she's way older. She's pretty much like their mom. She's raised them. Their parents both died when their previous hotel burned down. The parents owned a hotel. They died in the fire. And now Thelma owns this new hotel. It's one of those themed hotels where every room is kind of different. And she basically has to take care of her little sisters. We see her dealing with the customers. And there's this guy who hangs out all the time named Alex. Kind of like a fat slob. And I can say that because I'm a fat slob. You can't. So, it seems like Thelma just like lets him hang out all the time. And, Sarah's always just like, why does she let that guy just hang out all the time without like being a customer and stuff? And Thelma's dressed up as Snow White for the Grimm's fairy tale room. She's telling them about the weird customers they have. It kind of attracts weirdos, this hotel, because people want to have like kinky things like, ooh, we'll do the, I don't know, the Romeo and Juliet room and role play. So the little one, Minnie, she says, tell us the fire story again. Tell us the fire story. So we realize this is something that probably happens every day. And she basically just tells them the story of their parents' death. And I guess Minnie likes to hear about this, is the story about what happened. And so back in their hotel, the parents' hotel, one day this whole ruckus started. There was a party. The cat, his tail was lit on fire because the dog was chasing it. And the cat just ran around, igniting everything. The hotel burned down. Against the firemen's wishes, the parents ran back into the burning hotel to save their children. I kind of like this, the way the fire is burning the panel away. I didn't even notice that the first time. And so they throw the children out because, you know, the firemen have the little parachute down there, whatever you call it. But right when they were about to jump, the roof fell on them, so they died. And so, you know, Sarah has to work at the hotel. She's old enough. And she delivers room service to this one guy. He's this kind of studly photographer dude. He was earlier kind of flirting with Thelma. God damn it. My memory's so bad. I already forgot her name. Yeah, it's Thelma. And Sarah seems to be quite taken with him, even though it's very age inappropriate. And he's telling her, hey, you want to look at my photographs? And she's definitely like, oh, this guy's cute. So meanwhile, back to Minnie, their bedroom that they share. Minnie's puking now. So she wasn't just faking. She really is sick. When Sarah runs out to get Thelma, she's making out with that guy, Alex. And Sarah's just like, oh my God, that's why you always let that doofus hang around here for free. That's disgusting. And Thelma says, mind your own business. I like this, how Sarah says, you wouldn't do it if Mother were still here. And she says, my dear, if Mother were still here, I wouldn't be cleaning up vomit in the middle of the night. Kind of interesting art, not my favorite art. It's kind of nice cartoony. It definitely fits the story tone though. Like I don't know who else would draw this well, I'm sure there's others who could draw better. But I have some of Rutu Modan stuff from the Actus Tragicus. It's not like a style is that appealing to me, but it's good. It works for the story. So a little jealousy develops because Sarah thinks that maybe Thelma's into this photographer. So she goes visits him. She shows him the photo of her mom, the one with the face burned off. It's the only photograph that survived the fire. Well, didn't really survive the fire. She basically tells him her whole story. So she says, I'll give you a tour of the hotel. They even look at people's keyholes. They see this weird old couple role-playing Grimm's fairy tale stuff. And Thelma almost catches him hanging out with this guy. So the next morning, the photographer says, hey, I'm going into the city. I got to go to a camera shop. You want to come with me? And she runs to tell Thelma, because she's like, I better tell her. I can't just take off. But she sees that she's having sex with Alex, so she's like, fuck it. I'm going with this guy. So they go into the big city. And in the photography store, she sees photos on the wall, examples of the camera work. And she sees one that has the same background as the picture of her mom holding her. She asks the guy, and he says, yeah, I've been around here for 20 years. That's the same backdrop. That's one of my backdrops. I've been using it for portrait photos for years. And she shows him her photo. He says, yep, look, there's a stamp on the back, even a date. I did this photo. And it turns out that he has all the negatives. He saved all the negatives of all of the photos he's taken for like 20 years. He says, give me some time. I'll go rummage through my stuff and find it. And he finds it and he makes her a photo. And finally, she can see her mother. And it's Thelma. And so driving back to the hotel, the photographer buys some beers. She tries beer for the first time. Doesn't really like it. And it's Betty Bye time. And I guess they start fooling around. And then Thelma walks in on him. What's going on here? And she gets really angry, just like a mom would. But of course, Sarah's used to dealing with her as an older sister. So she's like, you can't tell me what to do. You're just jealous because he wanted me instead of you, like being a little brat, basically. So she says, get the hell out of here. Get back to your room and you don't leave. And then a little later on, Sarah goes down to the kitchen. She's feeling a little queasy from the beer. And Alex shows up. And he says, oh, that was quite a racket you guys were making, arguing. What's the secret? And she shows him the photo. And he says, yes, I had a feeling you already knew. Children have instincts. I told Thelma that kids can recognize their own mother. It's like science. It's scientific. And so Sarah didn't even realize. She just thought that the mother looked a lot like Thelma because it's her daughter. But this guy inadvertently spilled the beans. He thought that Sarah knew. That's why she was showing him the photo. And Sarah says, Thelma is our mother? And he's like, oh shit, isn't that what we were just talking about? And it turns out that Sarah's way older than she claims to be. And the whole thing was some kind of insurance scam where, so the mother, she didn't die, obviously. The father died, her husband. So she collected the insurance on him. They both had policies though. So Thelma basically claimed to be dead. And as her quote-unquote daughter, she could collect on the policy, get 2 insurance policies. It turns out Alex was the insurance claims adjuster who worked on the case. And I like this line. She says, so that's why she let you hang around here at her expense all these years. And he says, you think so? I always hoped that somehow it was more than that. So he's kind of obviously in love with Thelma. He's been with her for years. And, but then again, maybe Thelma's just kind of doing it quid pro quo. And she also wonders, like, how come she never told us when she got the money? And Alex says, yeah, maybe she just prefers being the big sister. And then she sees Thelma, and Thelma apologizes for overreacting when she found Sarah in the room with that guy. And Sarah says, so it's okay if I see him? And she says, no, he left early this morning, but he did leave you a note. And it's just a quick, brief note. Nothing of substance. And she says, sorry, hon. I also like how Alex, I didn't mention this, but Alex tells her, he says, what's the big deal? I mean, she has been your mother all this time. She basically has acted like your mother. And she's like, you don't understand. I've grown up thinking I'm an orphan. It makes a big difference. And it looks like Sarah's about to tell Minnie, the little sister, about the fire, the true story. But she decides not to. And she goes to help some customers. And once again, Minnie's like, tell me the story, tell me the story. So it looks like this is just going to continue. I hope that wasn't annoying that I went into such detail on that story. I basically almost told you everything. I know I do that all the time, but that story really seemed like just a really good story. I haven't read a story that great in a while. And now we have an article by Trina Robbins. It's her talking about the formation of women's comics, which I've read many times before. So now we have this person, Andrea Eckhorn, and Svegliata Volkan. And I think this person's Italian. And got a kind of interesting arty cartoon style. We see this kind of, I don't know, is he a robot boy? Or just a little kid with a helmet? I don't know. It's okay. I don't know. There's so many guys who draw like this. It's just like, I can't really draw that well, but I've got a certain little, I've glommed onto a little cute style. Of course, I'm just, he might be a great artist, but I've seen this style a lot. It looks kind of good. This is like kind of an, I guess, arty comic, even though it's not that arty, but it's just doesn't really make much sense. He's walking around, he sees a bug in his hand. The bug flies away. And we see his face get all scrunched up. And I'm not quite sure what's going on in this panel. It looks like he's holding on to a giant bug's leg. And that's indeed what he's doing. I don't know. The bug got really big. And we see him there. Kind of nice. I guess I'm being too harsh on this guy's art. It's good. He's a pretty good cartoonist. But not my cup of tea. Though I do like this last page. It's really good. And now we have Passage. This is by Jamil Mani. And he does the story and pretty much the line art. And the guy we saw earlier, Matthias Elftorp, does the gray tones. So they're both Swedish. This is just a very odd little vignette. We see this guy walking down the hallway, heading towards the exit door at the end of the hall. And all of a sudden he starts coughing. And a duplicate version of himself crawls out of his mouth. I know we've kind of seen this before. This is like a thing I've seen a bunch of times in like weird comics. But it looks pretty, he does it pretty well. It's pretty nasty. It's all covered in blood. So then he continues down the hallway, still looking at that exit door, trying to get there. This time, the duplicate just kicks himself out of his chest and crawls out of his bloody torso. This next one's a little more subtle. So now he's running towards the exit. He's like, I'm never going to make it to the exit if this keeps happening. And he collapses on the ground. And this, I guess he didn't want it to be like X-rated. So we see him just like, ah! And I'm pretty sure I'm reading this correctly. It looks like he's pooping out a duplicate version of himself, which kills him because that's a lot to pass through your anus. So now, once again, heading towards the exit, this other one, this duplicate, and the door's locked. He's yanking at the door, slumps down in defeat. And then he looks up at the exit sign. I don't know why he decides to do this. And then he kind of almost does the opposite of what's been going on this whole comic. He starts eating his arms and swallowing himself until he disappears. And then, out of the briefcase, crawls the new duplicate. This time he's buck naked, though. And he reaches for the door handle. And this time the door opens. We see a blinding light. And we see all of the previous shells of this guy. Here's some ads for the first 3 issues. It looks like they have some interesting contributors. I'll probably never find them. And if I do, they'll probably be too expensive. So there you go, guys. Pretty interesting anthology magazine. Cest Bon Anthology number 4. I don't know. I'd be curious in the comments if any of you have ever seen these or heard of them. It's kind of a mystery to me, even though it's not. I mean, I looked it up on the internet. It looks like they're still running. This anthology went on to like number 80 or something. I think it's still going. But now it's called CBA. So it's the same thing. Okay, I guess that's it. Hope you enjoyed looking at this with me. And I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.